It's been a long road getting from there to here.
I never thought when I was, say, 25 years old, 30 years old, or 40, thinking it'll be like this. Personally got to live through it, otherwise you can't even explain. My full name is Peter Wladyka, and I was born in 1923, September 28, and I don't remember that day. Okay, you can throw that out. I was born in Manitoba, and at home, in a house, on a farm, and that was they called it District Ruthenia. My father's name was Anthony Wladyka, and mother's name was Ann Wladyka. They happened to be the same names, but they weren't related. I was in a family of 8 kids. I am the fifth child. My mother came in 1900. She was 7 years old when they came off the train, and they took him in down to the farm there. Well, there was no roads nor nothing. He dumped him off and left him there. He said, well, you got to survive somehow. So Grandpa, he built a, out of wood, just a little shell, and they stayed out there. And I remember Mama was saying that she was always very scared, because the wolves would be howling pretty close. Dad, he came in 1907. And he was, I think, 15 or 16 years old when he came to Canada, and he came out by himself. Somehow he heard of, people living up further north from more or less same part of the country that he came from, and so he went up there, and he worked around, and I guess that's how he met Mom, and they got married. I didn't go to school till I was 7 years old. Well, I didn't know one word in English. Well, maybe not a word. We were talking behind the school in Ukrainian. The teacher sneaked in behind. He heard us. He grabbed me by the ear. He pulled it off. He lifted me, put me right off the ground. I don't want to hear that anymore. You can hear there's 50 kids, and you could hear that clock. They had a big clock on the wall, and you could hear every click on it. And during the school hour, he was strict. When the war started in 1942, that was the time when I quit school because Dad needed help at home on the farm, and then I went into the army in 1944. Everybody had to register during the war. People that I knew, we were all together at the same time in the army. And then the war finished. So I got discharged in, I think it was August, something like that, 45. We were on the farm for a year yet. We're trashing over at Bill's place, like a mile away. And Lena and Mom were home. They were in the barn milking cows, and they came out. The house was on fire. And the flames were coming out of the windows already when I got home. All personal stuff, everything went, yeah. I had even a uniform, an army uniform I had. It was gone. We were living like in a granary. The four of us, Lena and me and Dad and Mom. Dad was in town one day and he came home and he says, you know, Douglas wants to sell the hotel in Rossburn. Would you be interested in it? It was $25,000 for the hotel. Bills and Peter, they said they'll go too, like three of us go in a partnership. So I said, okay, that'll be all right. Well, of course, I couldn't borrow money because I had nothing, eh? So Dad says, well, here's $2,000 and borrow the rest. So borrowed the money and 1946, in May, we got into the hotel business. I think it was 10 rooms there, I think. But we had pretty good business, like the hotels were the rooms were always filled. In 2 years, I paid my share off. Then we decided, well, we didn't like the business. Bad hours, and you know, we always have to deal with the drunks, fights, and everything else. And we sold that hotel for $39,000. This traveler was staying over, and he says, we're looking for a dealership, John Deere dealership in Rossburn here. Right after the war, everything was scarce and everything was starting to boom. Farmers wanted the machinery and they couldn't even supply enough. So I built a shop and started the dealership. I didn't know a thing about it. I never sat on a John Deere tractor in my life. And I didn't know how to repair or fix the tractors or nothing. So I took the tractor apart and I put everything. As I was taking it apart, I was just laying one after another, you know. So when I was putting it back together, just go just follow, just go backward, yet follow. And just everything seemed to sink into my head a little bit. John Deere always had this school every winter. So I went, I always find out something and talk to the guys. When I was with the John Deere, first time I flew over to Dallas, Texas, it was 1960. Took us 6 hours or something to fly in from Winnipeg to Dallas without non-stop. Of course, we had a big party going on a plane. The pilot would announce, you know, it's certain city we are going by, you know, on the right-hand side, and everybody would go over to one side, and the plane started tipping over, and say, "Yeah, go over to the other side." The plane off balance. Well, it was my first flight too. I was concerned more about my life than I was. There was a guy, he came in with a tractor, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and we overhauled the tractor, and 4 o'clock in the morning he went home. It was long hours, and I guess that's where my arthritis is. It's cement floor, cold. It was pretty rough, you know. You always got to pay your parts 30 days. And the guys that owe you money, you don't see them for a year or two. I started off 1948 in June, but 1971 I quit, sold the shop. When we started to go together, you know, casually we went, you know, to a dance or something like that, thinking about it. Well, maybe I should have a partner, you know, to live with. Start thinking more seriously about it. And finally, I asked Mama, well, what'd she think about if she'd marry? Like to marry me and live together? Well, it took her a while to decide. 71, this November the 13th. Yeah, and we went on our mini honeymoon to Little Rock, Arkansas. Drove out there, which was my first long trip. When you get married, when you're young, you start with small children, then you sort of fit yourself in there and the children fit in, but if you just walk into the way I did, you know, it was, you know, quite a change. I don't think we had any problems. Pretty good so far. I think it'll last. We have worked together good, you know. She does everything you need in her house here and helps me out as much as she can. We were on a farm until 1990. We moved to Brandon. We lived for 19 years in Brandon, I think, before we moved here. So now I got 2 grandchildren, which I love them very much. And enjoying. I hope I can live a few more years, that when they grow up a little bigger, and enjoy with them, and so that they remember me. Time, you know what? You'd be surprised how it disappears that time. You think I'd have dinner, sit down for a little while, so I go and lay down for half an hour or so. Get up, after that, just walk along. Maybe I'll go for a little walk, come back. Well, what time is it? Time to eat again, Mom. Eat, look on the TV a little bit, and go to bed, sleep. Next morning, get up, same thing all over again. Actually, you know, you're not really bored. I don't think I'm not bored. But and I'm not doing anything. What will happen to me? I think there is such thing as God, and there is such thing as Jesus Christ, and I believe that we came in somehow, somebody put us on this earth. I think I'm going to go to heaven.